Hey there, this show is brought to you by our Patreon at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. We've just rolled out a bunch of changes to that, offering new rewards, and we have some new milestone goals set up. This very show is a product of one of those milestone goals, or one like it that we did in the past, and then met. I guess that's clear. So go to patreon.com/DuckFeedTV. Check out those changes, check out the rewards, and if you can, kick us a couple of bucks a month. It really does help us. Thank you.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
And this is File Underwater, the show where we try to convince you that R.E.M. is America's best hard rock band.
Try to convince you that R.E.M. can rock.
If you thought R.E.M. can rock,
listen to
have
this
you
episode.
Heard a little album called Monster?
Monster.
Have you heard a little song called King of Comedy?
Released September 27th of 1994. It's a weird one.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Yeah, and this is like we talked about in the last episode. All these albums kind of make interesting pairings. This makes such sense as a response to Automatic for the People.
Mm-hmm.
They very specifically after Automatic for the People, they did kind of a band meeting in Mexico, in Acapulco, and said like, hey, what are we gonna do for the next 2 years?
Yep. Like,
do we still want to be a band? What are we gonna do? And this is, they said, no, we need to make an album that actually rocks. We need a tour behind it. So where Bill Berry said, yeah, kind of famously, if we make another album, another acoustic record, I'm going to quit.
Right. And they decided, we wouldn't be R.E.M. if you did that. So let's make Monster.
Yes. Which is a rock album.
Yeah.
Like this is the most solidly a rock album. They've done
even more than Document.
Oh yeah, Document has like a lot of horns and like King of Birds and that song sings like Sonic and stuff. Like
this is such a weird album, and that like I know that is a very vague term to use. Like I think that this is a little bit of a Fables of the Reconstruction kind of situation where people will hear something, like the songs in this that sound pretty similar. Things like What's the Frequency, Kenneth, and Star 69, or Crush with Eyeliner to a certain extent, and we'll say like, oh, like this is totally the upbeat rock album that they're going to do. And much like Fables had some of those real downbeat, like, hey, this is a dour song about somebody from the South. It was like that didn't end up being the thing. Like this is like really experimental and uneven.
Yeah.
In a way that like the broader conception or like the easy story doesn't actually capture.
I think that's true. I think that even the experiments definitely have kind of a rock edge to them, whether that is rock, like literal, like kind of hard rock, like those songs you mentioned, or like, something like Strange Currencies, which is like a Mott the Hoople prom rock song.
Yeah.
Or I Don't Sleep, I Dream, which is like a glam rock song. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like them, taking these kind of explorations of rock. It's also something, and this is a evaluation thing, so it's getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I feel like the difference between this and Fables is I don't think these experiments work.
Oh no.
Like I think the experiments on this are pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it makes the album like I don't like this album that much. It has high highs.
I think that there is an amazing EP here. And I'm a Monster defender.
Amazing. Amazing. Like a 6-song thing that just like, this is so good. This is essential R.E.M. Why is nobody listening to this? Right. And then 6 songs I don't want to touch with like a 10-foot R.E.M. pole. Right. Just like you could, if I never hear fucking Circus Envy again, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, tongue, get that out of here. Go whack that other way.
Honk a man. Like, what is going on? What is this? So there's like, and the other, like, it makes such an interesting, we keep saying this, it makes such an interesting pairing with, with New Adventures, because I feel like New Adventures is the good version of this.
Yeah. Like New Adventures is like the version that they wrote after they got the cobwebs out.
Yeah. And wrote on the tour and was just kind of like, okay, what happens if we're not being quite so intentional about making a rock album? Like, whatever rock album just kind of happens.
Yeah.
And like, but yeah, I think that like this is a rough record for me. While I'm really happy to call singles from it.
Yeah.
Or like singles, individual tracks.
Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely in that same camp. And like historically, so, after we talk about this, I'm probably going to settle back into saying like, no, like Monster deserves more attention than it gets. I'm going to settle back into that. Like, don't take that as me forgetting that tongue exists.
Please. Never forget the tongue. It's interesting.
Yeah,
and it's a.
I'd rather they have
I can say about it.
I'd rather they have taken the risk than not.
Thing. What was that? One more time.
I'd rather they have taken the risk than not.
Yes, yeah. If they had done another acoustic album after this, or even something that's a little bit more interesting, like if Reveal had happened after Automatic, like that would be really rough.
Yeah,
or even Up. Like Up is, I like something that is like softer had happened. Like they needed to reset, and this is what that feels like a little bit to me.
Yeah.
Intentionally doing this rock album, which again, this is a dream deferred. They intended to do that for Automatic.
Right.
So they did this meeting. They said, like, we have to make an album we can tour behind. We have to make a rock album. And they kind of came back to the world and playing live at the MTV Music Video Awards in 1992. Those are all, I think MTV Music Awards are almost all on YouTube. I really want me and Brayton to do one of those as a Teenage Dirtbags live stream. Maybe we'll do it during Duckstream this year. We'll stream one of the music awards and
that'd be great.
The commentary. Because I loved those. I watched those for a year.
It was an event.
Event viewing for sure.
If I can make a recommendation, pick the one where Eminem is the year that the Real Slim Shady came out, where Eminem just started getting in fights with everybody.
Yeah. I was gonna, my initial one I was gonna do is the one where Nirvana performed and Kurt Cobain chose just to troll Axl Rose during the entire time.
Yeah.
It burned in my head of him like, Kurt Novoselic throwing a bass guitar up in the air, braining himself, falling over while Kurt Cobain just yells, "Hi, Axl! Axl, hi, Axl!"
Okay, do that one because I forgot.
One of the best moments. Like
I remember that Chris Novoselic hit himself in the head with his bass, but I forgot that it was on MTV.
The YouTube of it is so dumb because he literally, like, nothing else could have happened. Like he literally threw it up and then looked at it until it hit him in the face. Like he kind of holds his hands up, but not in an effective, like he never tries to guard himself.
Oh, it was deer in the headlights.
Like, yeah. He like, what have I done? and just drops, and nobody in the band, like, it's very funny.
Dave's back there writing this as a call.
Yeah, like I don't need this. I'm gonna outlive both of you fools, figuratively and literally. Like
Chris is still alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he's the figurative.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Heaven forbid I don't give credit to whatever Chris Novoselic's terrible band is right now. So this album. So they set out to make a rock album, and then kind of lyrically, we talked about this last time. Stipe's kind of response to this came out of two things. Like a lot of that invasion of his privacy, it feels like, where he's like, I'm going to make an album about sex. I'm also going to make an album about this kind of identity issues.
Yes.
And specifically about sex kind of things that played its way into the lyrics and into the kind of musically. There's a quote that comes up a lot where he says, like, a lot of records are kind of cerebra. A lot of records are from the heart. This one is more from the crotch. It's kind of a dick record.
Yep.
And that seems, hunk of man. Like that seems about right.
Yeah. I'm way down with a sleazy record. I'm a huge fan of Queens of the Stone Age, and I think they're at their best when they're just fucking like I just picturing them sticking their tongue out and making that exact sound. So like that element of this I think works really well for me personally.
Yeah. I don't really like sexy R.E.M. This is just gonna cement my reputation as the network prude, but like it is I don't really like sexy songs.
Okay.
There's a couple exceptions, but I don't really like songs about sex, unless it's Song About Sex by Neutral Milk Hotel, or another song against sex. So that's even, But
okay. So you contradicted yourself.
I don't tend to like songs about sex, and sexy R.E.M. always feels ridiculous to me a little bit. Yeah. Like there are elements that work, like Crush with Eyeliner is kind of sexy, and that song, I like that song quite a bit.
Yes.
But I think Tongue is the natural extension of like,
oh no,
sexy R.E.M. and that's not okay.
I made a gesture where I crossed my front arm, like my forearms, like I was a referee.
Yeah, you did the sign of the cross.
Yeah.
So yeah, it always feels a little silly to me, and that's just I can't so why. There are a couple of songs that are explicitly about sex that really work for me.
Yeah.
But it's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. And even when it's not like the actual kind of like at the forefront of the lyrical content, that kind of like slinkiness and sleaziness like informs a lot of the sound of this as well.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
is, I think is also something that doesn't go to my, I don't think that there's anything objectively wrong with that. It's just not towards my taste.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. So this is the album that was kind of made under protest. Bill Berry, as we mentioned last time, said like, "Hey, I'm going to quit if we do another soft acoustic album." And Peter Buck was absolutely fine with that. Like he was kind of delighted at being able to pick up an electric guitar again, and he is in the forefront of this album in a way that he kind of hasn't been for several years, or if ever.
It's very strange too, the guitar work on this, because it's not. This doesn't feel to me like an instrumentalist's album.
No.
A lot of the songs, the guitar parts are very garage bandy.
They're texture.
Like it's texture, but not complexity or like kind of musicianship.
Yeah.
So like something like What's the Frequency, Kenneth is like, that's just like tons of overdubs of a distorted guitar.
Yeah.
There's a solo in it, but other than the solo, there's not a lot of technical things going on. Yeah. Or like Crush with Eyeliner is an effect.
Mm-hmm.
There's the musicianship in this is actually pretty simple.
Yeah, like
for this band.
What's the Frequency, Kenneth is like three chords. It's like D to G to A.
And I love that song. Like I'm not complaining about it.
No, that is not a mark against it, but it's like most of the musicianship is actually happening in just like weird studio fuckery.
Yeah,
that Peter Buck was
in
like
a weird way.
Behind. Yeah,
there's studio. So he's in the forefront, but he's kind of workmanlike. Like you're kidding yourself if you think Peter Hostetler couldn't do this.
Right.
Like this is just somebody playing some chords for the most part, with again a couple solos and stuff.
Yeah.
But it does kind of put him as far as a musical instrument kind of up at the front. When they put this out, because they're going to go on tour again and make a big push, they have a really weird promotional thing, and it's a pre-CD-ROM
thing
that came out of floppy disk that is ripped to YouTube. That'll be in the notes, and it's super weird.
I had no idea what was going on. It took me a while to realize it wasn't like a VHS that was done in like a weird demo scene or like lo-fi style. Like, hey, this is incredibly rudimentary computer graphics. They include like snippets of songs, but they're super compressed.
Yeah. It's unhearable.
They're mixing in like they've got this. They lifted the mascot for this album, Migraine Boy, from like an independent comic from like a magazine that they found, which ended up being a little bit of a like with Bill Berry's whole situation. But
yeah, I ended up actually getting Migraine Boy. Like I had a weird brief obsession with Migraine Boy because of this, because I was super R.E.M. fan. So if like Michael Stipe liked something, I would like it. And like looked up a bunch of Migraine Boy stuff, and there's some video or animated shorts that I think were part of Liquid Television possibly, or some MTV thing. But you can go on YouTube and find Migraine Boy shorts.
Is his superpower that he has migraines a lot?
It's just a grumpy kid. He does have like migraines a lot, but it's just like a little gag strip of like people coming up to him and talking to him and him being pissy.
Okay.
But the actual album art, the Migraine Boy, the front of it's this out of focus picture of a bear. Another video compilation came out of this, Parallel, which had kind of their second set of music videos since the last one.
Yeah, a lot of stuff on it, but it's all stuff that we've talked about, so there's not a lot of new ground to cover there. Talking about the production of the album, so Scott Litt is back, baby, and they recorded their demos in New Orleans, so they've kind of, again, they're falling into these patterns.
It's an interesting thing with Scott Litt coming back, because there's a quote in one of the books I read where they specifically say that they wanted, they said like the easy thing to do to change your sound is to get a new producer. Yeah. And they didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of speaks to like how the sound is changed by that studio trickery. Mm-hmm. It's not an organic change of sound. It's not like these are just a bunch of R.E.M. songs and they sound different because they're produced different. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what's happening, but it's not just the touch of a producer. It's much more drastic because it's their standard producer.
Right.
It's not just like, what if Butch Vig, produced this or something like that, which would have been like the direction you could see them going towards, or like the guy from Songs About Fucking. Who am I thinking of? The lead singer of that band, who is a big producer, and I'm losing my punk cred so fast right now. The band is talking about Big Black. and Steve Albini.
Okay.
So it's not like if they just like chose Steve Albini or something like that to produce, which would have given it that different sound, but it wouldn't have had all the weird trickery and stuff that like feels a little unnatural and like it's very like, effort, like a huge effort to sound different.
Yeah. Like that was also a decision of like almost like pragmatism as well. They didn't want to, as they were changing and as they were getting, as they were changing their sound and as they were getting ready to tour again, they didn't want to change another variable by like having to, rebuild from zero this relational equity that they had built up with Scott Litt, over the past however many albums. Like, at this point, it's like 5.
They had said there's a quote where it's like, we aren't the easiest people to get along with.
Yeah.
And Scott can get along with us.
Yeah, and all of us can tolerate each other. So
yeah.
So like the early recording process was disrupted by the death of River Phoenix. So we haven't talked about this, but Michael Stipe kind of has this club at this time of young celebrities who are dealing with fame, and he was a really big friend with River Phoenix, the child actor. I know him from Stand By Me. So River Phoenix died by overdose outside of the Viper Room, which is what is that? That was Johnny Depp's club in LA or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. And like this rocked Michael Stipe to his core. Like they were writing these songs, they got like 5 of them down, like, hey, we're going to get these onto the album. And then he just went into full on depression over his friend passing away, like really unexpectedly, because River Phoenix was kind of this advocate for like clean living. Like he wouldn't even eat cheese, Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Real bummer, and this is going to kind of be marked by a tragedy that actually interrupted the recording. But the way that people assume the recording for Automatic for the People went is how this went.
Yes.
Like this is where everything is sad and bad. So after that happened, they got back together in 1994 to record these demos, live demos, or record the actual, songs live in the soundstage in Atlanta. They brought in Pat McCarthy to help with this, who's a guy from the Counting Crows. And because I feel also because they recorded live, that's another kind of, thing that motivated all this sound fuckery.
Yeah.
So like tons of filters, weird amps. I'm going to hit this thing with a wrench. Like I'm going to, take this water jug, like things like that.
Yeah.
Just real weird shit. And then they finished it off in Miami. It's not quite the tour, but.
Right. Yeah. But there were even more setbacks, as they go about this. I had to break it out into its own header. So like everybody's body started falling apart during this. So like there's if you listen to what's the frequency, Kenneth, it slows down slightly at the end. I think it's kind of fucked up that they used that take because Mike Mills suffered a bout of appendicitis and he was in such pain that he couldn't actually keep the beat.
Yeah. Yep. When they all slowed down for him, and it's like the opposite of what usually happens.
Right.
Usually things speed up. During this also, Michael Stipe got like this tooth abscess that required medical attention. Like everybody's, Bill Berry got super flu. Not the like capital S super flu, but everybody got kind of fucked on everything.
Yeah. There was like happy stuff too. So like Michael Stipe had, he took time off to spend time with his sister, Linda, after she had her baby. Buck took basically a paternity leave because his, then girlfriend and eventually would be wife, had twins, Zoe and Zelda, which are great names for twins. But yeah, like they were spending time with their families as well, and that delayed things too.
So the weirdest thing about Peter Buck's twins, right? So his twins, these Zoe and Zelda, on the documentary for this, they refer to him as having twin boys.
What?
Yes, like if you watch the tour documentary of this, they talk about bringing his twin boys on tour, and multiple people do it. Like Mike Mills, Bill Berry, everyone's talking about his 2 boys. So does Peter Buck have 2 sets of twins?
I don't know.
Right? Like it's kind of confusing.
Yeah, like all the books that I read indicated that like the twins that were born during Monster were Zoe and Zelda.
That's what I think. That's what I thought too. But the documentary seems to contradict it.
Huh.
It's weird.
I mean, maybe they just picked non-standard names. Like that's the thing.
You could do a person named a man named Zelda.
Yeah.
They did those video games about the green guy.
About the man in green with the sword in the right hand. Yeah.
So I don't know the gender of these kids or how many twins Peter Buck has. It's possible that he's just a machine and just makes twins.
He likes redundancy,
Yeah. He's got a backup set. He needs 4 kidneys at any given time. um,
So the thing that I think a lot of people associate with Monster, and kind of the curse that surrounds it, is related to the death of Kurt Cobain. So again, this kind of club that Michael Stipe had, and this relationship that he had with all these people who were struggling with fame, like they had this friendship, with the lead singer of Nirvana, and that seemed pretty unlikely based on their music being pretty disparate. But like Kurt Cobain was a huge admirer of R.E.M., basically saying like, hey, these guys are great, and they're saints for being like legit all the way, no matter how famous they get.
Yeah. And their music is not as disparate as it initially seems.
Right.
Like the secret to Nirvana is they're a pop band.
Right.
And that's why, like, I've talked about this a lot on different podcasts, but like, that's the reason why those guys work for me, where something like Alice in Chains sounds like garbage.
Right.
Like Nirvana is just is a pop band. They do pop songs that are just really distorted and everything. It kind of makes sense, because R.E.M., at their best is also a pop band. And prior to going into full on mandolin mode, like they wrote songs that were just kind of pop songs.
Yeah.
So they're not actually that disparate.
No, they're marketed very differently. And I guess that's where that comment came from.
For sure. They're definitely marketed. And a lot of people probably feel like they're totally, completely different. But it makes sense for them to be friends. They had planned a collaboration, Michael Stipe and Kurt Cobain, and we're kind of in the initial, nothing had been recorded, but they were fairly far along in it.
Yeah.
And Michael Stipe had bought Kurt Cobain. He knew he was having a hard time. Bought him a plane ticket out of Seattle down to Georgia, in order to like work on this stuff.
Yeah. To Cobain, get him away from an environment that would have been really destructive for him.
Yes, like to get him to work on this stuff in order to distract him.
Right.
Because he knew he was having a hard time. Instead of doing that, of course, Kurt Cobain killed himself. If you don't believe the documentary, I know, like Kurt Cobain truthers, like it's a real thing.
Yeah, I know. I've interacted with many of them.
Yeah, truthers are not okay.
Yeah, no.
No matter what the truth is you're trying to express.
Like, yes, I understand that Courtney Love has problems. Saying she literally killed him, that just kind of comes across as sexist. Sorry, guys.
I think so too. I'm not into it.
Yeah.
So instead he killed himself, which like, not to totally derail us, but like that was a big deal when I loved Nirvana and was 14.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I remember, I remember where I was during 9/11. I definitely remember where I was when I found out Kurt Cobain killed himself.
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal.
Yeah. No, I was way too young for that.
Oh. I was in a pool in Florida. My aunt and uncle took me down to Disneyland or Disney World or whichever one it is. And I had made friends with like a kid, like kind of another grunge kid, who was in the hotel. And then he found out and then he told me, and we had a moment.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's very weird to think about. It was just me and the stranger who both really love Nirvana. And found out at the same time.
Yeah, it's weird. So, it's weird how those big moments are. This is not related, but like it was one of the most bizarre instances of that after the Boston Marathon bombing. Like they eventually caught the guy who did that. Kind of that same night. But my brother was in town, and we were like, "Oh, well, let's walk down to the restaurant, get something to eat." And like somebody who lives in a house, I've never interacted with this person in my neighborhood, like ran out to the porch and yelled specifically to us, "Hey, they got him!" It's like, okay, thanks for letting me know. It's good to know.
Yeah, geez, yeah.
It's like those weird moments that everybody shares, no matter how momentous they end up being.
Yeah. So this kind of had a huge impact.
Yes. So like, again, this was similar to like a River Phoenix kind of situation where it's, delayed things where they had to kind of deal with that. Michael Stipe ended up, kind of like taking Courtney Love to the MTV Music Awards as this gesture of solidarity, saying like, hey, we're friends. And everybody thought like, oh, are they going out? Like, is she the next? It was just.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of gross.
Yeah. And
they were just friends. Like they were friends individually too.
Yeah. They shared a lot of the same politics. Like we haven't talked a lot about Michael Stipe and PETA because it's a little regrettable, but like they were peas in a pod related to that.
Yeah. PETA's pretty regrettable.
Yeah.
As a thing. Oh, pets should be outlawed. Okay. Yeah. Because they should. Let's give them voting rights.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Peter Buck even said, like, if we had broken as big as Nirvana did, we'd be dead too.
Yeah.
Like it's big deal. But they got over that eventually. They never really quite got into it, and it informs the album, which we'll talk about. But they did these kind of final overdubs at Scott Litt's studio in LA. And during the session, like they broke up.
Yeah.
Like they were just like, they hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it got so bad. And eventually they had to have, you know, a bunch of meetings, which is like, I love that. That's how R.E.M. handle problems. We're like, we have to tolerate each other. Like we can't, you know,
we have a contract, guys.
Yeah. Like, yeah, like it is, you know, it's not okay for us to be like this, but they couldn't stand each other. It was just, everyone was just fuck off.
Yeah.
Go to hell. No.
Yeah. Weirdly, during like the final mixing, Michael Stipe, having nothing to do because he wasn't really involved in that, decided, hey, I'm gonna take one of the studio's laptops, hop on to an AOL chat room, an R.E.M. AOL chat room as Stipe, and just start sharing some deets.
Yep.
So the book that I've got has some excerpts of that. Michael Stipe is a terrible typist.
Yeah, he doesn't really care.
No.
And all these things are archived. Mm-hmm. He did a lot more of this during the reunion, kind of their 2012 stuff, and all this stuff is really interesting. He answered like a lot of questions of people. He's pretty gracious. Like he's a terrible typist, but he's very sweet. Yeah. And his relation with this AOL fan community like continued.
Yeah.
So this tour was huge.
Yeah.
They did this. They started out. They rented they did a media event at a rented castle in Ireland. So like we're King Dork. Went through imagining Mike Mills in a little crown, like a King Boo, like a tiny crown. Yeah. On his weird haircut that looks like he does himself. Even though this is, you know, after that, this is when he started went into the barbershop and said, "Give me the Weird Al circa 1986."
Yep. But yeah, so they like this was, you know, the part of their extended coming out, saying like, hey, we're going to be going around to all these places, like it's a straight up like world tour. We're going to go to Australia. I think they had a few dates in Europe, or no, they had a few dates in Asia. They went to Europe, to the UK, and then they would end up in the US. And there's a documentary of this called Rough Cut. This is really bad. I don't like this documentary at all.
Of the tour, the documentary. It's kind of rough. It's interesting to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like there's interesting behind the scenes stuff that happens, and you can kind of see them being, you know, kind of hounded. Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting to see what like life looks like for R.E.M. There's a really charming bit of it where Michael Stipe is in the back of a limo and Brandy comes on the radio. Mm-hmm. You know, and he's funny and charming about it with his driver, and like he sings it and he's like, oh, this song is so misogynistic, you know, because like it is really misogynistic and stuff. That's kind of cute, but it's real fly on the wall, and if that doesn't appeal to you, like don't watch it. Like if you're not an R.E.M. super fan, you have no reason to want to watch this.
Yeah, the fly on the wall stuff, like actually showing like here's what the backstage of their venues looked like, and here's like the setup and logistics. I'm down with all of that. I just didn't like the stuff that felt very staged.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with that. And like there's the performances aren't that great. It's like them getting ready. Mm-hmm. So in some ways it's kind of close to a demo thing. But yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. So for this tour, they needed some extra personnel. They ended up hiring Scott McCaughey and Nathan December from two bands who apparently I didn't see fit to write down the names of.
Scott McCaughey is the guy in not Let's Active, but or it's something like that. Maybe it's not Let's Active. The DBs? He might be one of the guys from the DBs.
Maybe, yeah. And there's another member. They have a woman that I saw in some of the performances playing violin for some of the softer songs, but I couldn't find her name.
Yeah. So they definitely brought on some people for the tour because the album is full of all that trickery. Like they can't do everything.
Right.
They're very explicit about that.
And they were also digging back to these, you know, songs from the previous two albums, which were never written to be played live. Right.
Yeah.
So they needed, they needed some flex players to like pick up some of the weird instruments to do something like a Losing My Religion, you know?
And that would have been interesting to see. And there's a documentary for Up where they actually show that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really cool to watch the fly on the wall stuff of watching them learn how to play these songs with 3 people instead of 4, you know? So the tour is huge. This 47-man crew, 6 tour buses, a nursery for Peter Buck's twins. You know, it is a huge tour. Kind of, you know, not like a U2 style thing where it's like a huge rotating stage and like, you know, towers of video monitors, but like, you know, they had a projection that could kind of move around. It was a big production by R.E.M. standards.
Yeah. They had a lot of like audio visual stuff. They got like prominent directors to do like short snippets and things. And a thing that like logistically made this kind of a nightmare was they didn't have a set list. that they would take every single night. Like they played around with what their opener and their closer would be. And usually that stuff is really locked in. As you get that where it's the same kind of thing every night.
Yes.
It wasn't the case this time.
Yeah. There is a video of this, Road Movie 95, which kind of captured the last leg of it, and it's very good and has a lot of preview material from upcoming album or from New Adventures.
Yeah.
So in like a surprising amount.
Yeah.
At this point they wrote New Adventures on the road for this, so they were testing it as they went, and it worked out really well.
Yeah. Like there were a lot of people who came out. Like most of these events sold out within a couple of days. If they even lasted that long, just tens of thousands of people coming out, all of this pent up demand. And they were just hounded, day and night. Like in the book that I was pulling some of these notes from, like the way they encapsulated this by saying was like, it was crazy enough to make Peter Buck stop drinking. His quote is, it was so fucked up and chaotic, I quit drinking. I stopped drinking in February and I didn't have another drink until the end of November. I was just like, this is too insane. I have to be sober for this whole thing to keep it together.
Yeah. Which is so contrary to his old tours, where he'd be drunk and sleep all day and things like that. So this is very different, very different flavor. So while playing the song Tongue, which, some kind of message in Lausanne, Switzerland, Bill Berry has an aneurysm on stage.
Jesus, that's so scary. Oh my God.
Yep.
He just he slowed down and they finished out the song and he got up and walked up to Peter and said, "Hey, my head hurts." And the drummer from their supporting band, Joey Peters of Grand Lee Buffalo, came up and took over for the rest of the set. He had listened to the songs and Peter Buck helped conduct him through it. And they finished it out like professionals, but like Bill Berry didn't get better. Like the pain just got worse and worse and worse. He had 2 aneurysms, one of which ruptured, which like that puts your risk of death at like 50%. Is what the book that I read said. Really intense. Yeah. And like he was in the best place for that to happen. Like Lausanne, Switzerland, has really good hospitals. Yeah. But yeah, he came very close to dying. Yeah. Huge deal. Ridiculous. A bunch of dates were canceled because he had to have his skull opened up like a treasure box, like a turtle, in order to do surgery on the sweetmeats within. Yeah, they had to clamp off a vein so it didn't burst in his head. So yeah, like Peter Buck said, yeah, we need to stop because this is just going to get worse. But Barry was like, no, like we canceled those dates. We can try and reschedule some of them. It's fine. Like he recovered very well. Like before they went back, he was even like golfing 18 holes. So like, a miraculous recovery by all, rights. Yeah. He made it, which is great. Because, as much as I've been ambivalent about him, I don't want him to die from an aneurysm. Right. That's terrible. So they went back to Europe. Mike Mills got ill at this point. He did not want to, quit. So he stayed on and got taken on and off the stage on stretchers. Yep. Because he had an intestinal adhesion. Yeah. So remember that case of appendicitis? They went in there, took it out, but just different pieces of his guts were sticking to each other. Yeah. It's just everything's going wrong. And that's like, this is what happens when you get old. Yeah. That's all I could think of reading this. It's just like, oh, like we all have this to look forward to. Your bodies are betraying you. He has the most Mike Mills possible response to this, just saying, "Oh, the law of averages caught up to us." Yeah, oh, buddy. Yeah, Michael Stipe, the singer who kind of needs his diaphragm, was suffering some gut pain. Turns out, herniated diaphragm. Yeah, so he also had a hospital. So everything was going wrong medically. Yeah, on the biggest tour of their life, which like they hadn't done this in a while. They're 5 or 6 years older than they were since the last time they did this. Like that's a big deal. Yeah. That's going to make a big thing. And it's a miracle the tour was documented so well and turned out as well as it did. Yes. By all accounts, it's a really well-received tour. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the final disaster was Mike Mills's rhinestone suits. I love it. It's great. It's like I'm dressing up like daddy. Like it's. I like the suits. I think that they're objectively kind of hideous, but the fact that he wears them and sticks with it. So. Yeah, like his quote about it. I don't know if your book had this. Those suits are beautiful, and anyone that doesn't like them can kiss my ass. Rock on, Mike. That's so good. So it is
the way he does that, one of the fly on the wall things in Road Movie is him picking. They do like a lot of costume changes during this tour, which is really strange. And they show him picking him out, him like just being like, you know, like, and it's
he's
very
got his whole wardrobe.
Yep. Well, him picking out the rhinestone. It might be the first one. He's in. It's before they do Saturday Night Live. Specifically, he chooses it, and it's really good.
Yeah. But like it starts out as just like a Western shirt that has some rhinestones, and then by the end it's a full on like rainbow suit. He's wearing a coat of many colors.
It is. It's really ridiculous, and that's what rock and roll looks like to him. He's gonna play that kind of music. Like that's the thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's very funny.
Yeah. So all of that aside, they lived through the tour. Like the tour itself wasn't that well received, honestly. Like people went out to it and they saw it, but like this was one of the first times that they got like backlash critically about like their live shows. Like there were like cover stories written about how they were kind of making a bad choice by leading into this, and who knows how much of that is like weird sour grapes or just, you know, criticism for the sake of criticism. Who knows?
I had read stuff that didn't support that. So at the very least, it's kind of mixed.
Yeah.
The reception, because I had read people responding to it well. Who knows how much of that is like revisionist history stuff too, though.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't meticulously check the dates of everything that I read, but it's definitely something where like some people were into it.
Yeah. I'm positive it was a really fun time to go to this because, like, you know, it was the first time they'd done a lot of this material live, and like they had rearranged stuff, and you know, like this was material that, however misguided some of it might have been, was written specifically for that venue. You know, like no matter what somebody at a British magazine would have written, I would have liked to have gone to it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Like, it's at least interesting, and like, there's an element of shaking off the dust and resetting, which is kind of part of Monster in general.
Yeah.
Speaking of Monster in general, let's talk about the album.
Yeah. So this has two sides. This has head side and tail side. So this is a monster itself.
Yes. And it opens with one of their strongest openers, I think.
Oh yeah.
In the spirit of Begin and the like. What's the frequency, Kenneth?
Yes. And, you know, when we talk about the openers kind of setting the tone, you know, this is not jangly at all.
No.
This is, it opens up straight on a D chord, which is the most rockin' of all the chords, with this, you know, kind of like incredibly indistinct fuzz over it. It doesn't sound like any guitar tone that we've heard on an R.E.M. song in general.
Yeah, and it's the composition is like that too, because it is very simple. It starts with that D chord. It doesn't move around a whole lot, and it is written to be a catchy rock song. You know, everything about it is like not punk, but like, you know, a rock song. Like it is a thesis statement in a way that kind of informs the album. In a way that they haven't, like, it's very similar to Drive, but they don't do that often. Like they just tend to be kind of outliers.
Yeah. Weirdly, this is a return to melodic bass. Like the bass in the previous two albums, like has been nice, and there have been high points for it, like Man on the Moon, or, you know, I guess Losing My Religion. I'm just naming the singles at this point, but like it's mostly been workmanlike and in support of some of the softer sounds. Like, you know, for all the ink that is spilled about Peter Buck and Mike Mills, or not Mike Mills, Peter Buck and Bill Berry getting to like shake off the dust, like. The bass part really shines on this. Yeah.
It's really really great song. Super catchy. The lyrics are good as well. The kind of this is the Doki Doki Panic of R.E.M. anecdotes.
Yeah.
Like saying what this is about or what the title refers to. This thing that happened to Dan Rather, where some maniac came up to him and asked him, Kenneth, what was the frequency? Because the person who did that was possibly on drugs and thought that you had to dial into like another dimension.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yep. But it's kind of used as this refrain here for this song that is, you know, very much kind of like, I don't know, like not an adaptation, but an ode to like Slacker, the Richard Linklater movie, right?
Yeah. Well, specifically, there's a character where he says, you know, Richard says withdrawal and disgust is not the same thing as apathy. Richard is reading from Brian Eno's Oblique Strategies.
Yes.
In that scene. So it's a quote of a quote. But it plays into kind of the lyrical themes of the song, which is about youth and kind of feeling alienated from youth. Specifically like these kind of, you know, him kind of like studying youth, still coming away from it and feeling a little like for an album that's so informed by the dick and so young, it kind of rejects like, this is not a youth anthem. This is like an anti-youth anthem.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, irony is the shackles of youth.
Yeah.
You know, like you wore like our expectations, like an armored suit, you know, like these kind of like condemnations.
Yeah. It's like, it is a song about youth written from the perspective of somebody whose only exposure to youth is through the media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, and it's, the lyrics to this are not direct in a way that I can really appreciate. You know, we're kind of back to that.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes from, I think, from writing from a character place. This song isn't necessarily character. You know, I feel like I could imagine Michael Stipe feeling this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're back to a respectful distance, which is something I value in this band.
Yeah. I love the butterfly decal rearview mirror dogging the scene. Just like as a series of syllables, like it doesn't mean anything, but just like a series of syllables and just a rapid fire of images that really works well for me. I love the video for this. Because like this is also like a little bit of a debut of the new look for the band. You know, Michael Stipe with a you know, with a shaved head, and Mike Mills with his with his new suits and stuff like that. But like the way that everything is shot and framed and edited, you know, like you don't even see any of the faces for like the first half of the thing, and it's mostly like cutting to the different band members when they are not doing the primary thing. So like the person who's actually being most active in the music is never in focus when they, you know, when they're doing their thing. Like it's entirely
other than Michael Stipe, who does get a good amount of jump around.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think that this is very similar to Drive or what have you, where I think it's an interesting idea that doesn't sustain a whole video. You know, like this is a cool video. It's kind of like an anti-music video.
Yeah.
In a way, but
it's like something the replacements would make.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. They generally, if the band is playing instruments in a music video, it's very hard for me to find that interesting.
Right.
You know, like I'd prefer somebody to do something kind of different. Like it's a good video.
Yep.
And when I first saw it was real mind blowing. Like not necessarily the video, but just seeing the song. Like I remember very specifically seeing this on MTV before I got the album, and just being like, whoa, you know, you know. And it was the first time I saw Michael Stipe bald, and it's kind of punk and cool.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah. Also, they performed this with Dan Rather himself. Like Dan Rather was a good sport about this. Yeah,
there's a real goofy David Letterman kind of skit about this. My high school band covered this. Yeah, we covered the song.
It's great.
It was fun to do.
It's fun to do in karaoke.
Yeah, it's a good song. Second song, also I think the second single, or not second single, but a single on the album, Crush with Eyeliner. Yeah,
this is a great. Like they're continuing the good opening here. So this is super weird. It's super kind of sexy. It leans into that part of the thesis of the album. You know, again, like it's very, very straightforward. You're like, you know, talking about a crush. Like this is a song, you know, about somebody who's kind of walking down the street.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that, but it's also it's about that, but then also this identity piece. Like this is the song that is the synthesis of the two themes of this album. Yeah. To me, because it has all this stuff about inventing yourself as well, you know, which is a Michael Stipe pet theme and stuff he's talked about in interviews and everything, along with being about this kind of crush, being kind of infatuated, things like that. Yeah. This whole idea of being, you know, being fake or not.
Yeah. I could be your Frankenstein, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Which later he said that was a New York Dolls thing, I think, like a homage. This is full of weird things where he's saying the text about this is like them being like, well, we thought this, so we thought we had to do an homage to this. Like Thurston Moore plays on this, and that's why. Yeah. There's some kind of like, oh, I use it's like, God, it's something really wanky. I think it's like them saying they use the same tremolo thing. Yeah, that Sonic uses. So as a highlight, let's invite Thurston Moore to play. And it's like, or as an homage. Yeah. Kind of weirdly wanky. Yeah. But the describing somebody as 3 miles of bad road is one of my favorite like metaphors.
Yep. Because
that's really good.
Like it's not a flattering depiction, but like I've been attracted to women who are like you could say that. Yeah.
Like kind of a mess.
Yeah. Just like they repeat this. I love this phrase. Oh, my kiss breath turpentine. It's like, yes, you know, like that closeness strips away the paint.
Yeah.
gets rid of all of it. Fuck yeah. It's really good. So that tremolo and kind of that delay, like it defines and sets the tempo for the entire thing. I love kind of the plotting, kind of hit of this, because it does like it is the tempo of like a brisk walk down a road to me. Like that is the image that I get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a good number.
Yeah.
So far so good on the record.
The videos, the video's fine.
I think this is more interesting than the where it's because it's all about this identity thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the band, it does the hook. The hook draws you in, where it shows the even though that has more story to it.
Yeah.
But it shows this band as like a bunch of fun, Asian teens doing the song as the band. Like it's a video for that band.
Yeah.
So you could see this if you didn't know who R.E.M. was. And it's like the I Feel Better video.
Oh yeah.
Or something like that. Like I like that as a conceit. And I think it dovetails really well with the theming of the song.
Yeah.
Things take a turn for the worse for me here with King of Comedy.
Yeah.
Which I think this song is really bad. So this is like this weird, like so much studio fuckery.
Yeah.
This
is meant to sound as mechanical as possible.
Yes. Down to like these processed vocals and the music being very kind of robotic and lockstep and everything. And I think what is the original title of this? Is like, Yes, I'm Fucking With You.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, it's like, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a little bit much. And it's got this kind of repetition in the lyrics.
Make your money with a da-da-da.
The book compared it to Devo, and it has none of the kind of like like there's no spark to it. Like the best Devo songs that could like this could be a Devo thing, but Devo doesn't do disaffected vocals.
No, like Devo gets
Mother's Ball. Hey, money with a student. He'd like I guess that's Fred Schneider, but like Devo would do big, like there's so much disaffect to this.
Yeah, so this is weird like Devo is, but Devo gets you up off your ass.
Yeah, and this puts me on my ass. Like it is, and not in a good way. Like this, and then man, the I'm not the king of comedy. Like that U2 like guitar line. Like woof, 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 woof. Like, yeah. And it's not my least favorite song on the album.
No,
like, I really don't like it. Like
of like the crazy experiments. So of the two that do not sound like R.E.M. at all to me, I'd rather listen to this than Tongue. Is like where I stand, because at least this commits to the bit in a way, and like at the very least it's a kind of novelty that I personally can get on board with. Like I listen to it and I think like, oh, like they were kind of going for a Neil Young trans thing almost, and they just didn't land, because that is actually a really good and sweet album in a way that this is like kind of shitty and ironic.
It reminds me of like when somebody says like one of my mom's friends used to always say I would fuck Mick Jagger, but I wouldn't fuck somebody who looks like Mick Jagger. And it's like I would listen to trans, but I don't want to listen to a song that sounds like trans. Like it has that kind of thing where it's like, if you're not the real deal, if you're not Neil Young, like you can't really pull this off.
No.
This kind of thing. Like, yeah, I think that, and this definitely your kind of personal sensibilities just makes more sense with.
Yeah.
So the kind of drone and the repetition and stuff like that are some things that you're more sympathetic to.
Yeah.
But it hits all of the check marks of a bad song for me, which is like, other than long, like it's not that long, but
right.
It's droning, repetitive. It occupies an incredibly narrow sonic space.
Yeah.
And then you add onto it like this like Edge-esque guitar flourishes, and it's just like woof. It just becomes something that's very hard for me to like.
Yeah, and also like they're going around saying, "Oh, this is our Leonard Cohen song." I don't hear any Leonard Cohen in this. Like,
no.
What are you
You've
talking
just covered
about?
a Leonard Cohen song, like, yeah.
Yeah, not great. Also, they're like there was a line in this that was like straight up Michael Stipe's attempt to just kind of like again get out and own and be provocative about his sexuality, saying I'm straight, I'm queer, I'm bi. So like again, like kind of reopening that several years after people were making a big deal about it.
Yeah. And it makes sense because the album has all these other sex things with it too. It's just not. It doesn't feel like it relates to anything else. in the album or in the song. You know, that line almost feels like a non sequitur.
Yeah.
With all the, you know, make your money.
Yeah. It feels out of place to me.
Yeah. After that is I Don't Sleep, I Dream. Which is another weird one. I don't love this song. I don't hate it.
It's real middle of the road for me. Like
it's super middle.
If I'm gonna have on this album, if I'm gonna have Michael Stipe singing falsetto, I'd rather him do it at the end of these choruses.
Yeah. I don't like, I do like this more than I like Tongue. I don't think I hate Tongue as much as you do. I think it's like a C-. It sounds like it is like an F for you. Yeah. I think it's like a C- D+. Like I don't like that song.
I hate to make every song about Tongue.
Yeah. But it's like, it is a point of comparison. This is real plotting, which is probably the part of it that I don't like, but that falsetto that pops in, I think is actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
Because it is like tactically deployed, you know?
And like this is written like as a conversation or like an entreaty, like the line I'd settle for a cup of coffee, but you know what I really need. Like this is like straight up like coming on strong on somebody. It's
funny, he's come out and talked about it where he's like, if you listen to it on first read, it's entirely about sex, but it's about dreaming of sex.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just about like that coming out, that cup of coffee is kind of a clever thing because if you think of that in terms of it being about sex, you know, that's the end of the date where it's like, hey, do you want to have a cup of coffee? And that's code for, do you want to go upstairs and smash? And then and by which I mean play Smash Brothers Brawl.
Of course.
You know,
you're just looking at her intently as on the character select screen, like,
and just trying to see if she does Link or young Link, because they signify in the Cosmo quiz I read, they signify different sex styles. But you know, the cup of coffee is also something that makes you stay awake, and he talks about wanting to interrupt like these dreams, you know. So it's kind of interesting lyrically, and it does that kind of flourish, that falsetto flourish. It's just like it's a little too plotting for me.
Yeah.
To be like something I really love.
Yeah. I think I engage with this the most on the lyrical level. And again, like it's mostly just this dark, the dark R.E.M. that I like and I haven't seen in a little while. So I think that might be why I have some affection for it as well. Yeah,
that's true. Like we haven't had this kind of like foreboding R.E.M. in a little while. Yeah. Star 69, which was a song that charted, that was not a single. And when I was thinking back on this, I thought the video for Crush with Eyeliner was the video for Star 69.
It would have fit.
Yeah, I was like convinced it was. And I was like, oh, like Star 69, it's the video with the Asian kids that are dressed up as R.E.M.
Yeah.
Not the case.
Yeah.
A very, I think, like pretty slight pop song about telephone and...
Yeah, and also like there's a little bit of the identity piece about just kind of like getting back to somebody, identity and connection. Like Star 69 was like a new thing, so this is a little bit like having a song about trains.
Yeah. One of the worst lyrics that R.E.M. has done is the opening of this, which the rhyming couplet, you don't have to take the bar exam to see that what you've done is ignoramus 103.
Yeah.
So that's very rough.
That's pretty bad. Like that is that is let's not say first draft. Let's call that the like one half draft.
Yeah. That's a real half draft. And like the bar exam is a very specific, like you need an extra syllable there. The bar exam is not a general exam.
Right.
You're not, I bet you're not talking to a lawyer in this perspective.
Yeah. The nice part about this and what makes it stand out for me is it does feel of a piece with something like What's the Frequency, Kenneth. So it's them going back to this kind of like lighter kind of sound. Also like it's incredibly fast. Like this is it's got this punky kind of pace to it where like I can't even stop and hear him talk about ignoramus 103.
Well, he does the vocals have that treat. It has a weird delay on the vocals, which like this is a thing where I think the fuckery is used to good effect. And it's like, it's not all over the entire song. It's not the basis of the song. It's just this thing that happens in the vocals and makes it do this kind of cool delay, and cool echo that pops up that really hits during these kind of choruses, or the end of lines, rather. So that, 103, it like does it multiple times. It sounds good.
Yeah.
And the pace is really refreshing. like this is the fastest song we've had since like Wolf's Lore. I don't know if that's quite true, but like it feels like we haven't had a fast REM song in like,
but like
quite a while.
That's a pretty big part of like rock is being able to go really quick.
Yeah. Like it just, even something like What's the Frequency Kind of, which again, I love that song, is very mid tempo.
Yeah. So like that is about as like 110 as you can get.
Yeah. So it's nice to have them actually be kind of quick, even if the song is very simple. It's like a very simple pop song. Like I like this song too. And it's on that tour film thing, on that road movie. It's really good. There's a really good performance of it. I dig this song.
Yeah. On to Strange Currencies, also known as Let's Do Everybody Hurts Again, but with some tact. Like
a love song version of Everybody Hurts.
Right.
I like the song quite a bit.
Me too.
Like it's a very simple kind of like real standard rock chords, but the kind of distorted song or distorted guitar on it and everything, like it sounds a lot like the kind of theatrical kind of chamber pop version of like a Mott the Hoople song to me.
Yes,
like prom rock.
Exactly. Like Mott the Hoople is a really good touch point for that.
Yeah. And it really works for me. It is in the classic like Don't Stand So Close to Me, Obsessive Lover kind of thing, or The One I Love, or any of those songs that sounds like a love song and isn't.
Yeah. It's so what's funny is, everybody talks about like, oh my gosh, Michael Stipe found his soul voice for Everybody Hurts. Like he found the voice, but he didn't have the right song for it. Like here, like, it actually works here. Like it plays into like the overhyped passion, the way too intense, like way too muchness of the lyrical content. Which, it kind of does that The One I Love trick where it sounds much more pleasant than it actually is at first glance at like a really superficial level. Yeah.
And the actual, like the song construction does something that feels like they haven't done in a while, which is have kind of weird conversational syntaxes and quotes in it. Like, being self-referential, like, with love comes strange currencies and here is my appeal. And then there's, that follows. So, there's this like, I'm going to refer to something that's going to come next in the song rather than refer to something external from the song. Things like that, which I really like. And it's we're even these words, you will be mine. Like it's referring to itself in a way that's a lyrical trick I always love.
Yeah. And again, like he rambles in this. In a way that like still fits in, like this is a really locked in kind of song with these arpeggiations and stuff. But like, I love that run where he goes, I need a chance, a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, a word, a signal, a nod, a little breath.
Appeal.
Like, yeah. It's really great.
I like this song quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's the closer. It's a good closer.
Yep.
For the side, as opposed to the closers we're going to come to, which we'll get to. Starting up with the tail side, which the opener, which is Cole's the metric from which Cole will compare things he dislikes for the rest of his life.
so Summer, I'd forgotten about this because I had removed it. I removed it from my library. Yeah, this is Cole's Summer Jam, 1994 to presents.
Yeah.
Whew, boy, tongue. So this is another Barry joint. Is
that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Musically, not lyrically, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this is this is a Barry joint, and this is done entirely in falsetto on Michael Stipe's part, which
he's trying to sing like a girl. His words,
yes, which overstays its welcome and makes the entire thing very unpleasant. Also, I think the song is very very slow, and like it is intentionally like cribbing kind of like soul riffs a little bit. Or like an R&B kind of feel that I don't generally like when R.E.M. goes in for that.
I don't generally like that anyway. I agree with you. Like like Wearing Out Its Welcome is a really good way to put it. This vocal affect, because it's like something I don't dislike inherently, but God, to do the whole song like that, and just have no other thing that happen in range,
right?
In any other range, like. Really, really rough. I think that somewhere in there is a good vocal melody, which is what stops this from being my like absolute rock bottom thing.
Yeah.
it's just up an octave higher than it needs to be, and on top of a boring song.
Yeah, and like falsetto restricts your ability to like, let's say, project, to bring any emotion to it, you know, more than just I'm hitting this note as high as I can. Like falsetto is just a, you know, like a single coat of paint that is applied. You know, it doesn't really matter that you're that high because there's no expressiveness to it.
Yeah. Pretty bad. Like, I think this is a pretty bad song.
The organ part in this is really good. If I'm saying nice things, like I kind of like, if I listen to this as an instrumental, it'd be like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and when the guitar kind of comes in during the bridge, that descending bit, that's very nice as well.
Yeah.
There are a couple good parts. But yeah, I dislike this immensely.
Yeah.
Also, I think we're on split on this. I do not like the second single from this album, the next song on this, which is Bang and Blame.
Yeah. I'm fine with it. Yeah. So I think the chorus is abysmal, and I wish that there was something different that they put in its place that was not just it feels very stipey to go the bang 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 bang. Like, yeah,
it feels like, like that. I mean, that's the thing I dislike about it. Like the verses and stuff. Again, it's a little slow, but I don't hate it.
Like the verses, you know, like the subject matter of this is really, really menacing. It's about domestic abuse in a lot of ways, or an abusive or unhealthy relationship. So like the verses fit, and I also like the delay that's put on the minor guitar chords has kind of like a little Spanish feel to it, like what Peter Buck is hitting. Like all of that part of it's good. I just I wish it opened up into something that was not quite as obnoxious.
Yeah, obnoxious is a good word for it, because it's not. He doesn't sing it quite like the version where I'm making fun of it. You know, bang bang bang. But that's what the melody is. Is this like deep doop deep boop? You know, it sounds like somebody impersonating a robot.
Yeah.
In a way, like it's just kind of all over the place where no notes are connected. Like in a way to make like a melody, really.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
1,
they're notes.
3, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it sounds bad to me. Like it's like, oh, this is not a good enough chorus or a good enough. Like this shouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just 2 chords. It's really simple. Like it's really hard for me to imagine having this as a demo, hearing him being like, yep, I'm going to put bang, 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 bang over that, you know, as opposed to being like, oh, this is a bridge, you know, this should go into a thing.
Yeah. I like the end of the chorus. Like, that's not my thing, so let it go. Like, that sets up, you know, the re-rack for just, again, that really sparse, kind of desolate verse really well. I think that's cool. I just wish that the bang and blame were not as pronounced and as repetitive and just kind of like weirdly saccharine. Yeah,
and it's too long as well.
Yeah.
For what it is, for how simple it is, how few kind of parts it has. Yeah, like this doesn't work for me. It doesn't make me hate it, but it's like I just, you know, I never want to listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, live performances are a little bit higher energy and are a little bit more fun, I think.
Yeah.
So like I could see liking this live, or videos I've watched of it live kind of come together better.
Yeah. Personnel wise, they got Rain Phoenix and Linda Stipe to do backing vocals on it, which I think that is really good, because they're more of like it's almost like a vocal orchestra hit.
Yeah.
Like that is probably the best part of the chorus is when they is when they just chime in between
and Rain Phoenix is River Phoenix's sister.
Yes. Yeah.
In case anybody is, I don't know if Rain Phoenix is famous in her own right or not. I'd never heard of her.
I don't know.
Right? The video is black and white of kind of random imagery, and then when they show the band, it's like a slot machine. Yeah. It's like split into threes, and they kind of shift. Okay, video.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not really additive. It's not like it's actually taking anything from the song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Up next is I Took Your Name, which is not for me as well.
Yeah.
I don't hate it, but it's not for me.
It's very middle of the road.
Yeah.
It's like nominally about identity theft, or, you know, just like somebody coming in, again, playing with identity in that way, but like it doesn't resonate for me. You know, a huge way.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say to this. There aren't a lot of words to it. You know, it's a lot of these just single declarative kind of statements, like I scaled your face, I crossed the great divide, I stirred the ocean tide.
Yeah. I don't have anything really to say about it, so we probably shouldn't belabor it.
Yeah. It's just like it's middle of the road. I would be fine never hearing it again in my life.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like it's a little plodding, a little bit slow.
Yeah.
To me, I really like "Let Me In," which I didn't. I was kind of surprised. Like, it doesn't feel like it's the type of song I would like.
It doesn't. It doesn't sound like a Gary song at all. I was very surprised to hear you say that, actually.
Yeah, but I actually really like this song.
Mm-hmm.
This is the explicit Kurt Cobain tribute song.
Yeah.
And like, as somebody, like, I think writing a song about somebody who's killed themselves is very tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can make that song suck pretty easily by making it really kind of direct. Mm-hmm. And my uncle, who was in a bunch of rock bands, had like a song about one of his friends that killed himself, and like I just remember it being like a figure of fun kind of thing for me, because it was like, brother, why'd you do it?
It was like, it sound like "Mother" by Danzig.
And that's more or less what it sounded like, except it was about if you would I wish I could talk to you, and this is kind of that thing, but it feels more honest and vulnerable.
Yeah.
To me, and like this has like really, really good imagery. Like,
mm-hmm.
The stars all drip down like butter, and like we hold out our pans with our hands to catch them and drink them. Like these like really, really kind of great imagery during the verses of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had, and when he gets direct, which it's like feels earned because it comes near the end. I had a mind to try to stop you, to let me in. Well, I got tar on my feet. I can't see all the birds that look down and laugh at me, clumsy and crawling out of my skin. Like, there's really good, like, kind of lyrics to this.
Yeah.
That have like an emotional truth to them. Yeah.
And for as much as this is a song that is directed, at Kurt Cobain, there's a broader appeal to this, which is, it's about that particular situation, but also it's about desperately wanting to help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. Or who is not allowing themselves to be helped, so like this is also about like him. It's also about the relationship of the person who desperately wants to reach out, to be let in. And so like, I think that's where a great deal of the honesty comes from, and actually what makes this lyrically resonate in a way that extends beyond just being a tribute to Kurt Cobain.
Yes. Yeah. It feels universal.
Yeah.
To that thing, because everyone, even if you don't know someone who's killed themselves, you've been in that kind of position.
Yeah.
And like, it's all just this kind of guitar for most of it. Mm-hmm. Until this keyboard line. Mike Mills plays guitar on the song, mm-hmm. and Peter Buck plays keyboard. And that naivete that comes from Peter Buck is really great. Like the organ line that pops into this is really great.
Yeah.
And then the guitar is pretty simple during this, but it's because it's in the back seat.
Yeah. This the one thing that I dislike about this is the effect on the guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't much care for it, because I hear it and I think like this is the setting that I would trip, or the set of pedals I would use to like completely cover up and make it sound like it is like a fuzzy rock song kind of thing. So it becomes this kind of monotonous kind of wash over everything, when I would actually like to hear it more distinctly. And the way that it's mixed actually puts what Michael Stipe is saying, and actually hides the message. And again, hides that kind of range beneath that wall of fuzz. And, having seen them perform this live, it comes out better just because they can't actually like make it this one flat wall of sound like they do in the, mm-hmm. in the album version. I just think it's really regrettable, because I want it to be laid a little bit more bare.
I actually like it the way. I think that's a strength, not a weakness. Like, I like that it becomes this kind of distorted wall of just kind of noise. I think that like expresses the kind of the emotionality of it really well. So like I get what you mean with it taking too much space, kind of sonically, but I think that this is kind of an expression of grief, or this kind of regret. Like, it feels more pure to me, like to not have like obvious, like to have it not even almost sound like an instrument. Mm-hmm. Just this kind of like box you turn on that makes this sound and song, and then like the instrument that does come in is that very simple keyboard melody that kind of matches the vocal melody. Mm-hmm. That like, it ends up actually really working for me. Yeah. Not that it doesn't work live, but like I actually like that on the record.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like it's like a Brian Eno the Here Comes the Warm Jets, which like I like that when it gets kind of distorted.
Yep.
And you listen to it and you just you put it on your headphones and it just washes over you, like you're not really listening to individual sounds, you're just kind of being bowled over by something.
Yeah.
It has that effect for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I think this is a very striking song. Like it's actually like really bracing in its honesty. And it's, you know, it feels like a very appropriate tribute. There's something about that guitar sound that rubs me the wrong way. Yeah. And that's like such a shitty thing to like get in the way of liking something like this.
Like anything can get in the way of liking something if you just, you know, just don't like it. Like there are whole bands I don't like just because I don't like the singer. Like I can't listen to, what's it said? That Speak Singy band, even though I think their songs are kind of good because he speaks sings.
Cake?
Not Cake. They're big. They're still kind of big. It's got Nikolai, something like that's the keyboard player. The Hold Steady.
Oh yeah.
Like I think those guys have good songs. I don't want to listen to some like a fat guy with glasses just kind of talk about being young, like ever. You know, like I just, you know, I like sing your fucking song, man. Like I don't, you know, I can't handle the way that. So it doesn't even matter if I can listen to the song and be like, yeah, this would be good if somebody was singing it. Like I can't do it.
Yeah, you just don't have the time of day.
Yeah. Bruce Springsteen sings. Like I know you guys are trying to be Bruce Springsteen. He sings songs. Like you know, don't do that for every song. At least sing the chorus, fuckers. You know, I don't know. Like so it just becomes this thing where I just don't want to listen to that, even if the rest of the song can sound really good to me. You know, so it's like I get like the one thing kind of holding you back, and it just being like, yeah, that's just not how I would have done it. You know, or how I would have preferred it.
Yeah.
And these Maniacs didn't close the album with that.
What the fuck are they thinking?
Two of the worst R.E.M. songs at the end of this record.
Wow. So I'm with you on Circus Envy. I kind of like you.
You like you? I hate you. Like I not you, but like I hate the song you. Yeah. Like, it doesn't even like it, it's just, and it's when I found out about the origin of you, like it makes sense because that's what it sounds like to me. Like it feels like it's constructed from studio scraps.
Yeah.
And that's how they wrote it. But let's do Circus Envy first because that's a really bad song.
Man, at least it's short.
If I were you, I'd really run from me. Oh yeah, Michael Stipe. Okay, bud. Yeah, I think this song is real bad, and I always think he says "hunk a man," and he's actually saying "on command." But it says it like that kind of shitty Elvis voice, and just like "hunk a man," and then this bass like this is Mike Mills, like built around a Mike Mills bass riff, and it's so regrettable because he's my sweet and good boy, and he's doing this bow now 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 bow now now. What are you, ZZ Top? Like get out of my R.E.M. album.
Yeah. And like weirdly, this is the song that gets the album title drop. You know, make way for Monster Jealousy. Like, oh, come on.
Yeah. That's
it's I don't understand really what they're going for, like with the imagery in this either. Like it's a very kinetic song from the, you know, like the situations they're describing. But I don't know what it adds up to other than like I'm a bad man.
Yeah, I think this is. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is supposed to be, to me, this is, as much as I don't like sexy songs, this is the unnatural worst version of it because it's got a little bit of that slink.
Yeah.
You know, that like, now. That's like a little bit of like, you know, that sleazy dick rock to me. And this is the worst possible version of that. So even though I don't like that in generally, there are way better versions of it that I find way more acceptable than this. And then the chorus, who even knows what's going on in it? Like it becomes this incomprehensible chorus.
Yeah.
Real rough number.
Yeah. This is like it hasn't been kicked out of the library just because it is so short. But like I don't understand why this is you know, why it's after Let Me In.
Yeah. And then the album ends with You. Which we mentioned, which I think is better than Circus Envy.
Yeah,
but I don't like this song very much.
So I like it because it, you know, again, this whole retroactive reminder kind of thing. Like it is slinky. It is kind of cock rocky in you know in some ways that kind of speak to me specifically. Like it reminds me of some things that you would see on like maybe the first two albums of like Queens of the Stone Age. Like this feels like something Josh Homme would have like arrived at.
Yeah.
which I understand, like that's not how time works, but like that, like, but there's something in both of these that like makes me like it when it pops up in both.
Yeah,
it is a mess. Like it doesn't hang together. Like it is just riffs the whole way.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like an R.E.M. song to me, and it doesn't feel like it plays to their strengths at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe if this had been, like, and I'm not as big a, like, I like Queens of the Stone Age.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as big a, I think in general you are a bigger rock fan than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like music that can be called rock without an adjective, in general, like, which is how I would classify Queens of the Stone Age more or less.
Yeah.
A rock or hard rock band. Maybe this coming from a different band, I would like it more.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just doesn't, it doesn't it isn't cohesive, and it feels like I don't know, like it always feels like this kind of thing coming out of R.E.M. feels forced to me.
Yeah.
And it ends with it like that when it starts going at the end where it's like turn to you, like this like loud thing over and over, over the like that ding ding ding, like that kind of Middle Eastern setting, Arabian Nights guitar. Like it sounds like a random mess. Like it feels like a bunch of songs threw up into this to me.
Yeah. And I'm down for that because I like the noisy stuff. So,
yeah.
Like I'm fine with a little bit of dissonance because like
I really like noise. We got to find out what the difference is, but because like
when I say that,
I'm like, I keep saying like I like noise. I love noise. Like just like, but to me like let me in is noise.
Okay.
That's like an expression of like a kind of noise, like a soundlessness.
Yeah.
So I wonder what the actual difference is.
Yeah. I'm fixing on like discordant, kind of like very disparate elements that are, that are put together in a way that shouldn't make sense, but there's something in the synthesis that makes it work, as opposed to Let Me In, which is kind of a pervasive and intentional, kind of like texturing over top of stuff.
Yeah. It's like a texture noise versus like a melodic noise almost.
Yeah.
It's like you're talking about the relationship between two different elements as opposed to like a texture of one element.
Yeah. And I'm down for both. I like when they play with each other, when one will segue into the other, where just like a couple of different motifs will kind of crash into each other. I can understand you a little bit as kind of this like picture this album being them like setting 5 different trains on tracks all heading for the same station. You being the place where they all collide. I don't know that it does, I don't know that it deserves. I don't know that it works as an album closer, given that. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say is like, even if we disagree about the qualities of the song, at least we can probably agree that like it's a pretty bad closer. Right. Or at least like, it's kind of inappropriate, and they just like, I think they just kind of fell in love with it in the studio, but it is a real studio like cobbled together thing. If it is that, if this is the compilation of all those trains hitting each other, it speaks really poorly of the album to me.
Yeah.
Like it just like, and even going through this, it's like, man, like I have good things to say. Like maybe one song less than half of the songs on this record.
Yeah. Going back through it. So, good. Sorry.
No, I was going to move us into first and worst.
Yeah.
But if you had another point.
No, I was going to take us there as well. I think that there's an amazing EP here. I will generally probably, just to be contrarian, like come to its defense more than I ought to. Again, forgetting that Tongue exists because it will probably leave my library after this. But yeah, like it does speak poorly of the album if you is representative of all of the elements colliding, because like it is all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's something where I think it's just a really good example of experiments not working.
Yeah.
For me, like I like that they're stretching. I don't think they're good stretches. I'm glad they gave it up. Like it's pretty rare. Even the songs that came out in New Adventures don't feel like they're of a piece with this.
Right.
Even the ones they performed on tour with this, like Undertow doesn't sound like a Monster song, and so I'm like, this is a weird blip where like they kind of like a lot of these things are literal dead ends. You can't look at their later songs and be like, oh, this is a real Circus Envy kind of thing, or this is them doing, and I Took Your Name, or this is them doing a King of Comedy. It just doesn't kind of doesn't happen. Like they gave up on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the boys got it out of their system. Out of the ones we've done so far, this is my least favorite album. I think I don't dislike it more than Around the Sun because I'm not a maniac.
At least we always have Around the Sun.
Yeah, Around the Sun, it can always be our, the collective hate object for R.E.M. But like, going back to it, it didn't sound better than I thought. Like I was like expecting, like I liked it when it came out because I was R.E.M super fan. You know, I never listened to it. When I revisited it, I was kind of meh, and I was kind of expecting like coming back to it to be like, you know, this is actually kind of, you know, this is kind of good. And I tried, like I was like looking for the strengths, and just didn't hear them. Yeah, you know, for the most part, like doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, I think like this is in this weird little like Schrodinger's pair with Document for me, actually.
Yeah. I mean, Document also was not something I really upon revisit was not wild for either. Yeah, you know, so it's like that's a good comparison. You know, whereas like I'm really looking forward to talking about Up. Like Up weirdly, like I've been doing a general re-listen, you know, and like Up, you know, and Up has aged really well for me. Yeah. What's our first and worsts on this bad boy?
I'm not gonna be boring. I'm gonna say first is Crush with Eyeliner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not bored by that at all.
No, I was about to say What's the Frequency, Kenneth, because like that is a song that like I think I've probably had more of in my life, and I think I'm always down for it, but I think Crush with Eyeliner is more interesting.
Yeah. And worst is going to be Tongue. Oh, for you. What if you can't do Tongue?
Then we have to be King of Comedy. Yeah, just because. No, I'm not going to equivocate because I was about to say Circus Envy. But like King of Comedy just doesn't sound like it belongs. Like, if it's a matter of like get rid of the experiments that don't work, at least Circus Envy feels of a piece. With
it's a generic rock song. Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
I would probably say What's the Frequency, Kenneth, or Let Me In. Those are my two favorite songs on the album. You know, Crush or What's the Frequency, Kenneth, definitely when I was younger, and then Let Me In, you know, grew on me with this listen. That was like the surprise. Yeah. For me coming back to it. And I like Crush with Eyeliner quite a bit, but I would probably be one of those two. And then on the downside, like is probably going to be King of Comedy. You know, I think that song is really, really terrible. But Circus Envy gets honorable mention.
Okay, cool. I was going to ask you to give your backup school, your safety school.
Yeah. Because like I don't like Tongue. I think that it's like I never want to listen. I literally never want to listen to it. I just think that it's like at least doesn't sound, you know, it doesn't embarrass me as much as like it's tiresome as opposed to Hunk of Man. You know, it doesn't embarrass me.
Right.
Like Circus Envy does. But there's just like so many like C minuses on this for me. Like it's hard to pick a worst, you know, which is the first time that's happened. You know, it's usually there's a clear runaway, like, you know, there's not very many B-sides on this.
No.
They're singles. They just did live versions of things, which at first I was contemptuous about because I like B-sides, but then realized the reason why they did that is at least in part because they didn't tour for the last two albums. And some of those are live versions from those songs.
Right.
So like if you wanted to hear live versions from anything from the last couple albums, it was hard to do.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about live versions that are on B-sides generally.
No.
There are a couple of other songs though that did pop up on compilations and the like.
Yeah. So Sex Bomb, who's this a cover of?
I have no idea. I didn't see it. I lost it.
Yeah.
In my research or whatever.
Yeah. You sent over the notes. I like this. I like that kind of like super spacey punk. You know, especially with like Stipe whispering over it and like weird feedback, kind of coming in and just like weird panning and separation going on. This is cool.
It's real weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not bad. Like this is kind of interesting. I also don't know where. So they also covered Chris Isaac's Wicked Game, and there's a studio version of this. They did the cover live, but they also did a studio version, and I don't know exactly what that's for either. Like some compilation or some soundtrack or something. That's a song I've always had some affection for. Like I think it's a good song. Our record label back in DeKalb, we all covered it. We did a compilation called Strange What Desire Makes Foolish People Do. And it was just all of us covering Wicked Game in different ways.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty fun because like, you know, a couple of people did straight things, but myself and others did some real weird deconstructions. It was very fun, but I always liked this song.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of Christmas in Tunisia.
Why is it you can't make it like an instrumental Christmas song is weird kind of in general.
Especially when there's really no like Christmas instrumentation in it.
Yeah, you at least need to have sleigh bells over the shit. It's just like organ based, like funky instrumental. thing. It's kind of good, but it's weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't know why. It's like, what I think happened was they had an instrumental and they needed to do a Christmas song for the Christmas thing.
Yeah.
So
I could see that.
Feels about right.
Was that the same thing that happened to Hot Java?
Boy, Hot Java is extremely weird and bad.
It's like a ragtime song, right?
They have a ragtime with him kind of like singing about coffee.
Yep.
And sharing coffee with people. Like, get yourself a Hot Java. Get your friends. It's really, really fucking weird.
Yeah. It's very disposable.
Yeah, disposable is a good way to put it. Yeah. And then finally, for a compilation that they did, they have this song called Sponge, which I had never heard of before, which is weird because like a lot of the officially released things I did hear. And it is a super, super sludgy, like monster outtake. Mm-hmm. Super, super sludgy.
Yeah. If you're down with that, you're going to be down for it. I think it's fine. It's pretty middle of the road. I'm kind of happy it didn't make it onto the album because it would have.
Yeah,
it really would have dragged.
We had enough of that.
Yeah.
Like, did we need any more of that? No.
Right.
You know, it doesn't. And there's some songs that are written around here, but get official releases later that we're going to talk about. There's Revolution, which is for the Batman and Robin soundtrack. Same thing that has Kiss Me, Thrill Me, Kill Me, Kill Me. And then the songs that they toured for New Adventures, which we're talking about next time, which I'm really excited about because depending on the month or whatever, my favorite R.E.M. album is either New Adventures or Reckoning. Like I love New Adventures and Hi-Fi.
Yeah,
really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about next time.
Yeah, as mentioned before, we're doing Dead Letter Office 2. So if you have questions and things like that, keep an eye on our social media. We will put out the call.
Yeah, like you probably have you have very little time before we record this. So
actually send those in. Send in Duckfeed contact at Duckfeed, the contact form. Yeah, that's what we want. The contact form at Duckfeed.tv with your questions.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise, go and check out our Patreon, patreon.com/DuckFeed.tv. It's how this show is possible. It supports the entire network of shows that we do, and we really appreciate everybody who has given us support on that in the past.
Yeah, and then ratings, reviews, things like that are all very appreciated. And I think that's probably about it. We're on a little bit of a timetable, so we're going to cut that stuff a little bit short. But thank you very much for your support, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and until next time, it is the end of the podcast as we know it,
and we feel fine.